All right, folks, this is this is take 1,000,000. No, in all seriousness, this is take, I don't even know how many times I have taken this bike apart. Okay, I got a ton of video footage. I may put some of this on here or out there. Yeah, as you can see here, we're still working on the Campus 60. All right, the bike runs. I got it to the point. I got it to the point to where it runs. I mean, it did run. I was having problems with the clutch. Couldn't get the clutch to work properly. So this has been an ongoing battle with this thing. Documentation is extremely non-existent that I have been able to find. So what the problem I'm having is, okay, when we first, let's go back in time. You guys will undoubtedly have seen already the first day we brought it home. And this was a couple of years ago. Well, the clutch slipped extremely bad to the point to where it basically just, it had no get up and go. Alright, so I took it apart and found, there was 3 clutch discs in it. So thought, okay, well, put it back. I got 3 brand new clutch discs and put them in there, and nothing. It still slipped. So it's like, well, obviously something ain't right with that. So as you've seen in my other videos, we also have the Trailmaster 80. Well, they're basically the same engine. One's 60cc, one's an 80cc. And that one had 4 in it. So it's like, well, I got to thinking, all right. and trust me, that there again is another problem in and of itself. But anyway, I got this thing back together, and seeing that one video where I went to take it for a test ride, and as soon as with the clutch pulled in, which the clutch was extremely tight, it was not working at all. As soon as you pop it into gear, boom, it died. Yeah, you could, go crazy with it, rev it up, and take off. It's 60 cc's. It's, not like a YZ85. So anyway, I thought, you know what? I'm tired of, messing with this thing. Well, I'm not tired of messing with it. I'm tired of it not running right. So, it's a cute little bike. It's actually really fun to ride, and I want to make it to where it runs like it is supposed to run, and I'm starting to wondering if that is even possible. So anyway, like I said, I got a bunch of video where I was trying different iterations of things, and none of it was working. So, the other day, now see, for example, I do have 4 clutch discs in this one, and the whatchamacallit over there, the Trailmaster, it also has 4 clutch discs in it, but it also has washers underneath the springs, which, when we get to that point, I will show you what I'm talking about. I just drained the oil. We've got to take the this footrest thing off in order to be able to get the side cover off. But anyway, like I said, it's got 4 discs and 4 plates, and it also has the washers, because the way these bikes are designed is you have to be in neutral in order to kick it over. Okay, so right now it's in neutral, and let's see, kick it over. All right, so before we continue on with this, if you pull in the clutch, if I can reach the clutch, if you pull the clutch in, see, this just slips. Okay, that is the way it is made. All right. Apparently they changed this whole design right around 1968 or 69 on the Trailmaster 100s, which, well, one of these days that'll be a future project because I got one sitting out back. but you know, so you didn't have to have it. You can just pull the clutch in and, you know, whatever. But that's not the case with these. So while your clutch cable comes down into right here, which we're going to open this case back up here, and then we'll pop our stand off there. And the only thing you really, like I said, you got to take the footrest off so you can get the side cover off. You'll have to take the air cleaner. It does have to come out because it sits down in here, and unhook your carb. You don't have to actually disconnect it. You just got to unhook it, and I'll show you here. We'll swing it aside. Here's your side cover. Of course, now I noticed the other day it was dripping a little bit of two-stroke oil, and I know I've replaced all of those seals. Well, there's just a tiny bit leaking down there, and who knows where it's coming from. Alright, so now, okay, here's where you adjust your clutch, and there is actually a little plate inside here, this little opening. You can pop that out and actually get to the adjustment mechanism. And how this works, you just loosen this 10mm up, and there's a screw here. You put your screwdriver in it. Supposedly, according to the manual, you turn it, you know, to where it touches, back it off like a corner turn, and then tighten it back up. I've tried that a million times. This is your actual clutch lever, and this does play into this too, so your clutch adjustment needs to be right. Now what sits behind here is this little corkscrew thing. So when you're pulling on the clutch cable, it's taking that corkscrew and turning it counterclockwise into the pressure plate. And then behind this screw here is a little ball bearing. And we'll get to that here in a minute once I take this cover off and we start taking the side cover off. In the meantime, though, let's go ahead and make sure the fuel is turned off, which it is. And you just want to loosen your fuel line up here. Alright, so back to this problem here. I was curious, because I got a couple of old 71, 72, they're in rough shape. The engines are good. A DT1, I think it's 100cc, and then an AT3, or I don't know, something like that. But I just lose the washer. I lost the washer. No, not this there. So, and then your carb, there's a little slot in the front here. I know you probably didn't see me take that plug out of there, and maybe you did. All you do is put your screwdriver in there, loosen it up, and you just kind of wiggle this. And there's your carb. Okay? So, let me get over here. I'm going to put my drain plug back in. We are going to still lose a little bit of oil when I take this side cover off. I'll just go ahead and put this back in, that way I know I didn't forget. I need to remember to order a crush washer for this. That or just make another one. Alright, so while we're here, let's use a socket here. We'll pop this screw out. Bolt. Now, the nice thing about this bike, as opposed to the Trailmaster, is the exhaust. The exhaust comes over on the left side of the bike and over, which you might be able to see it through the wheel here. So then you got to take the exhaust off. Well, on the Trailmaster, the exhaust is on this side, so you actually have to disconnect the exhaust in order to do this. Now, part two, or while we're working on this, we're going to go over to the other side, and hopefully I can get that off. I know I got to take the shift lever off, but we need to look at the the gear shifting mechanism. This is one goofy setup on these things. This one shifts perfectly fine. The problem I was having with the Trailmaster is it would shift into first, second, and then kind of skip third, go into fourth, and then you could upshift into third, and it worked just fine. So I was messing around with it when I took that one apart, this whole cover and everything, so I could kind of examine, you know, exactly what I did. It'd been a couple of years, and so I was messing around with gear shifting stuff, and now it doesn't really want to shift at all. Period. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. All right, so we got your oil injection tube in here. Just need to disconnect that. We still got to get the air cleaner, so we'll do that here in a minute. Set that right over there. Now we got this nut and screw inside here. There we go. All right, before I get ahead of myself, I will take, that is a 10 mil, and I believe it's 10 mil on the other side. We will take off the air filter. If you guys happen to get one of these things, you will never find an air filter for them. They do not make them anymore. So hopefully if you do get one, it at least has, and I'll show you what they look like. It's kind of an odd looking thing. You know, and I don't know, maybe, I've never cross-checked. You know, when you go back in time and you look at a lot of these bikes, they were very similar in styles to, say, like a, oh, what is that, a Honda S65? It looks very, very similar to these bikes. So, obviously it was a 4-stroke, but, you know, some of the air boxes and stuff were kind of the same. So I've never really looked to see if, you know, Honda or Suzuki or anybody like that made something that would fit. This one, fortunately, you know, the guy we got it from had cleaned it up, and, you know, I mean, obviously the body and the frame and everything was not cleaned up, because you'll see that in one of the videos. But this is your air filter. Kind of definitely an odd looking thing. So, I mean, at least if you got this part right here, I'm guessing you could probably just like glue some foam around it. That would probably work. So, put this back in there. Okay, so that can sit like that. We've already got the oil out of it. We've dropped this. Okay, so now let's get my buckets back into place. And yes, I have pig mat under here, so if you guys have never used that, just look it up on Amazon. It's called pig mat, and it's very absorbent, so it helps keep the oil down. Of course, there's nothing like good old kitty litter, which I have a ton of that too. So, all right, let's see here. Let's get up under here. We'll loosen some of these up. I wasn't going to mess with it. Telling myself, you know what, I'm not going to mess with this. I got it to the point to where, you know, as long as you up your RPMs when you come to a stop, it won't die. But, you know, and I don't have any intention whatsoever of ever selling this thing. It is just way too cool. The Trailmaster, I'm really pissed off about, because this bike I did not use rattle can paint. I actually painted it with car paint, automotive paint, and primer, and clear, and this paint turned out fantastic. The Trailmaster, on the other hand, looks like crap. The paint, which is Duplicolor, not that says a whole lot, but, or it may say a whole lot. And actually, where it's peeling off, the primer's coming off, so I'm guessing it was more so the primer, which I believe was Duplicolor too, out of a rattle can. And that wasn't the first thing I ever painted, so it's not like I I am no expert by any stretch, but I've painted a thing or two, and I've had pretty good luck. I mean, usually mistakes that I've made are, you know, excessive orange peel, runs in the clear. Usually runs in the clear. I usually don't get a whole lot of runs in the paint, but with the clear is a little trickier. So, okay, anyway, so that bike needs to be repainted. I may have posted a video on that. I can't remember. I do too much crap. Let me get my plastic hammer, and we'll give it a little tap, tap, tappy. And this little piece right here, I don't know if you're seeing me, or you're getting glare or what. I don't know, because I can't really see the lens. You try to remember to put that back on before you slide your carb in. I guess it really depends on how yours looks. I am getting humongous glare or something on my lens. So, hold on a minute. Hey guys, sorry about the fogginess in the video. I happened to look up to show you that part and noticed I couldn't even see what I was showing you. So, humidity is horrible here today. Excuse me, it's like 91% humidity. It's been raining all morning. So, I can't fix that. So, you guys will just have to bear with it. It does clear up. I had this problem one time down in Florida. Had the camera sitting inside the house and AC was on. Took it outside to do some filming last year. And I didn't even notice it. I mean, you couldn't even see, hardly even see, there's so much humidity. Anyway, we're back. I got stuck it up under the ceiling fan to get the fog to clear up on the inside, which you can't get to on the camera. So let's make sure I got all my bolts out. Nope, I still got one left. Got distracted. So anyway, we will knock this off, and I'm going to have oil pour out. Try to catch most of it. We'll let that kind of run out a minute. Now, let's see what kind of damage we can do. Get me another old rag here. Yeah, one of these days, when I become a rich man, I'll actually get me a motorcycle lift. I don't feel old, but, you know, trust me. I posted all the video out there of as many times as I have taken this thing apart, oh, you guys would get a serious laugh. Oh, come on. Trying to catch that oil there and keep it off my pristine garage floor. Okay, you can see what we're looking at here. Here's your clutch. Now, this particular one only has 3 of the ring cushions. I might actually add a 4th. Supposedly it doesn't really do anything but help with kind of like vibration and noise. So what you have here is you got your Kickstarter and your spring, exact setup on the Trailmaster, and you have your main sprocket over here going to your crank. And how this works is, you know, you kick it down, and like for right now we don't have anything on it, so it may or may not turn. Okay, it is turning, so that's a good sign. One way to tell when you're working on these things, before you put your cover and everything back on, if this thing kind of sorta is spinning freely and not turning the engine, something still may not be quite right. However, with that said, the Trailmaster, which is behind me over there, it was spinning, and even with the washers up under the clutch springs. So, but once I got the pressure pressure plate number 2. There's actually 2 of them. And then it was fine. It was kicking over a little better. And I had to make some adjustments on the clutch lever. Okay, now to this thing here. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to spin these off. I believe these were 8s. 8s or 10s, one of the two, I can't remember. Yeah, they're 8s. Now, you will see me use an impact to take them off. Never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, use an impact to put them on. Because these will snap right off. Which you'll hear me say a million times. Get them going by hand and then screw them in with just a screwdriver. I mean, I guess you could use one of these like cheapo Harbor Freight powered screwdrivers, you know, because they're not got a whole lot of torque to them. But I have snapped these off twice, and yes, I was able to drill them and get them out with an easy out. The easy out worked pretty good. The other one, I had to come in from the bottom, and then I had to retap the hole. So, just word of caution. Now, what information I did find, and if you get onto Yamaha parts, Babbitt's, whatever they're called, that or Partzilla, they show a diagram of these clutches. None of them mention the lock washer that is under here, and the Trailmaster had it. One thing that I did find, I think it showed the lock washers. So that, guys, is a crapshoot. I don't know if they're supposed to be there, not supposed to be there. I don't know. I wish I had better answers for some of this stuff. I've reached out to Dale, a few times on these things. He hasn't had one of these in probably 50 years, so he doesn't know a whole lot about them either. And I did end up putting the washers on this one as well. So here are these washers. They're 16 mil by 16 mil outer, I think 10 mil inner, and I think they're 2 mil thick. So, and what one article that I actually did come across on a YG1, which the Trailmaster 80 is a YG1K or T, whatever. There was actually a kit back in the day that Yamaha sold that included these washers. It was kind of a performance upgrade. Alright, so what I'm going to do is get my magnetic tool so we can pull those washers out. And what I'm going to attempt today. Alright. I was curious. Back to my Yamaha book, my Yamahas that I got sitting out back. Those cover 1968 to like 1973. And one of them in there is, I think, a GT1, which is an 80cc. Very similar to these. And it made mention, the one thing I had stumbled upon, and if I do release these videos, sorry if I sound like I'm repeating myself, is the way I understand this. All right, you have your clutch basket right here. Okay, here's your discs and your plates. Like I said, this one has got 1, 2, 3, 4. I did put 4 in here. Okay, so when these are in here and your pressure plate and your springs and everything are on, it's going to push this basket in. So none of your plates here, you can see me moving these plates. They won't move. So what happens is when you pull that clutch, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but inside here where I'm pointing, that's the corkscrew thing. If at all possible, do not disconnect this. It can be kind of a pain to get back on, so you can just leave it on and set it aside. Well, that thing turns, and as it's turning, it's pushing on the nipple on top of here, which in turn pushes down your plate. So when it's pushing down that pressure plate, it should be separating those discs ever so slightly. Okay, so the clutch disengages. All right. wiring. Well, that's what it's still not doing completely. It is disengaging some, and with this thing running just like it is right now, I mean, didn't appear to be slipping. It is running actually really good. But I'm still just not satisfied with its operation. I think it's still, I'm close, but I'm just not there. Well, anyway, back to the Yamaha books and that GT1. Well, it mentions the bolt here, the clutch basket bolt, torqued down to 25 foot-pounds, which, when I was messing around with this in previous videos, when I was dorking with it, you know, guys taking a break, aggravated, I sat down, I was kicked back on the couch thinking about how this mechanism works, and if this bolt is tightened all the way down, then there is no way it's going to be pushing on these things tight, and it's never going to come forward when you push in on that pressure plate. So that is what got me to thinking about, you know, this nut that it is just, you can't have it tightened all the way down. So I forget what size that is too. I think it's the same one. Maybe it is. Yes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I did snug that one up. But what I'm going to do is loosen it, and shit, I put Loctite on that thing. Let me see if I can zip it off. Back up, get my 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch nut driver. See if I can zip it off. So, and I'll show you here in a sec. What I'm talking about. Hopefully this will spin it right off. Okay, good. And I will put more Loctite on here. I got my brake cleaner and my Loctite. Okay, let's pull this out of here. Here is your clutch basket. Now, I'm probably gonna have to move you, and we can go. My workbenches are always full. My tables. Okay, so we'll move you over here. Like I said, I may or may not put another ring in here. I hate touching my camera. My hands are all oily. Sorry for the mess. I'm always working on something or another. Let me spin this around so you can see what I'm seeing. Alright, so here we have our clutch thing. Alright, you're going to take this top one out. Now, actually no, let's take our basket out. That is what your basket looks like. Now, back to when we first bought the bike. Let me get my box of parts and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Because, you know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? I don't believe there's anything wrong with the clutch itself. I know the discs are all new. I got a bag here of other discs and everything, which I have measured all of this stuff multiple times. I've measured these plates. I've measured the friction discs. You know, I've measured everything. So, and even on the old stuff, you know, it matches the measurements on the other stuff. So, here's the other clutch basket. Okay. Now, I'm going to set them right side by side, and you can see the difference. The one that came on the bike, I'm pretty positive. I don't think I have any video of that. I wish I had recorded it, because that's what was on it. And even when I put it back, you know, with 3 discs on it, brand new discs, plates and everything, yeah, it did not work. So I was pulling my hair out. Then I'm still pulling what little hair I have left out now. All right, now that we're at these friction discs and plates, we're going to take these top two out. All right, and you can see these are brand new. They're brand new. You can still get them. You know, I think Yamaha Parts even still sells them. All right, now here is the other thing that I want to get to. Look at these. Look at these two rings. And hopefully this is showing up on the video. The one here in my left hand is thicker than the one in my right hand. All right, well, on the video of the GT80, okay, they were saying, actually in my climber's manual, it states, all right, if you have a friction plate, okay, that is thicker, that needs to go first. Well, if you look at the parts diagram on Partzilla and, you know, Babbitt's, they show that thick plate on the top. Does it make a difference? You guys, I have no clue, and I'll be happy to admit that. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are just going to take this out, and these just go in between them. Like I said, they're just little cushions. I've tried all combinations of things, guys, and honestly, you know, I just ain't figured it out yet. Okay, so I'm just going to put this plate back down in here. All right, and then we're going to take this plate from the very top, okay, and we're going to put it next. All right, then we will put one of our rubber isolator rings back on. Yeah, they're pretty slippery, you know, covered in oil and all. All right, so we'll set that one aside. And then we'll go another friction plate or ring, disc, and that one. You know, and they show, I think, in the manual, not the manual, but the parts diagram, they only show 3 of those rubber isolators. So that's what we're putting back on. Hey man, I'm sure it ain't gonna be the last time I take this thing apart. I'm hoping it's the last time I take this thing apart. I ain't kidding you. If I had to count, I've probably had that thing together and apart at least 20 times, if not more. Alright, so we're going to put that one there, and then we're going to put this one here. Alright. Now, down inside here is a piece of cat food, because this is where I feed the princess kitty cat. When I got this bike, took it apart, it was missing this copper washer. The parts diagram shows it, okay? But nothing else references it, so I got it, and it does seem to help with the issue of it not wanting to kick over and just kind of slipping down. So that goes first. Your thrust washer goes on top of that, and on the inside of the case there, which you can't see right now, there is a kind of a bearing that goes into here, and then behind that is another thrust washer. All right, so this is back with the thick plate on the bottom. Now, I don't think it matters, but a lot of these have paint marks. I don't know if you can see that paint mark in there. It is right here. But there's also a paint mark on this one here. So ultimately, does that matter? I don't think so, but maybe when they're machined back in the day and they made these things, maybe that was important. And the way I do these is I just get my plate lined up, and you just kind of wiggle it around, and it'll drop down to all of them. And what you want to do is you want to make sure your washers are at the very bottom and they didn't slide off to the side and are blocking your hole, which shouldn't be an issue. Okay, now guys, at this point, you know, we could put another ring. We could put another this other rubber thing here and space it out just a hair more, you know. But I'm trying to think here if, you know, like I said, it's grabbing, you know. It was rideable, it's grabbing. It's just you got to keep the RPMs up because the clutch is not fully disengaging when you pull the clutch lever in. So is one of these rings here gonna space it out that much further and cause it to either grab more or grab less? I would think it's going to cause it to grab more, so we're going to leave that out. All right, so let me take you back over here, put you back in position, and we're just going to put this back in place and test putting this back on here. Got you zoomed out a little bit. All right. Now, before I go crazy with the brake fluid or brake cleaner, actually that works pretty good to get the crap off my gloves. Alright, so now here's that bushing I was talking about, and there is a thrust washer behind that one. Alright, so at this point, now all we got to do is put it back on. Get it to, check my washer, it's in place. And you just kind of wiggle it around till it drops down in all the way. Alright, so that's in all the way. I probably don't seem too overly optimistic because I'm not. You know, I know a washer, a clearance on something, a washer can make a difference, but is it going to make a difference because that fat washer is now at the very back versus being at the very front? Well, I really don't think so. But hey, you know what? I have been wrong before. So let me clean these off. And when you're kicking this over, it is spinning that way. All right. So I don't think the rotational, what am I looking for here? Rotational mass would cause, because that screw is going that way too. So I'll show you. So see, now this is actually spinning backwards. So could it spin? Could it loosen that up? Because that was the other thing I was thinking. I mean, I'm not even going to bother with a torque wrench. It's 25 foot-pounds. You know, I'm just going to put Loctite on it, and we're going to snug it up. And of course, I'm not going to drive this thing for a day or so and let this Loctite harden. Of course, I did not bring out my half-inch drive ratchet. Which is sitting right there on the floor. Thanks for telling me that, guys. Probably sitting there thinking, hey Greg, it's right there on the floor beside me. So now you can probably see, I kind of zoomed in, I can't see my screen. Here's the yellow markings, not that that matters. And I'm just going to tighten this up on here. That's tight, tight-ish. Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about with it not, it's in neutral and this thing is just spinning. Now, the more I tighten this nut, it is going to put more pressure, kinda, on those plates. But also too, when we put the washers and the springs back on, we're going to see if that fixes that issue. Because if it doesn't, then we're going to have to take it apart and then crank down this nut even more. But I mean, I've got that nut on there. I don't want to put it on there super tight. But the other thing too, when driving it, I noticed it was whining. Gear. I was getting like gear whine, which it didn't do originally. So don't know, man. Don't know. All right. So let's put our washers back in here. I did kind of actually went over to the local motorcycle place and they had some washers that were pretty close in size. I just shaved down one side, kind of two sides, put a little flat spot, and that appears to work just fine. Now, getting these springs on here, especially with oily hands, is a bit tricky because it does put quite a bit of pressure, more pressure, spring pressure, because now these springs are sitting 2 millimeters taller. And like I said, this one did not have the washers. And for whatever reason, the Trailmaster did, and honestly, I don't remember if that was my doing or what. Because I know, like I said, I read that article, and it was talking about the that performance kit from back in the day. Let's see if I can jamming, stabbing myself. You got to get 2 of them going. It's not always easy to do because you got to compress this spring to where you can get that screw going. And it's hard to see in there. You see if you're even hitting the hole. Obviously, I have not hit it yet. Okay, kind of got that one in. So I'm hoping once we get this tightened down, then the Kickstarter will work as it should. So once you get 2 in, then you just kind of start going around and putting your other ones in, and I do try to tighten them evenly around, kind of a pattern. But we'll test the Kickstarter here once we get this pressure plate down in. And then we need to go over to the other side once we get this cover on. We're going to go over to the other side and we're going to take that cover off so we can take a look at that shifting mechanism. And then I need to get my camera on my phone and take a ton of pictures and see. I do have some documentation on the shifting mechanism, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And Yeah, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm missing something, but I know this one shifts fine. So hopefully I will get enough pictures to where, because now I've got the Trailmaster back together, and now I've got to take it all back apart so I can get the shifting working. It does have an issue with the Kickstarter, but it's inside the case. I don't know what it is. You know, it may be one of these days, you know, when I do get if I get a wild hair in my ass and want to tear that thing apart and strip it down and repaint it, maybe then I'll, you know, since I'll yank the engine out of it, maybe then I'll tear it apart and open it up and see. If you kickstart it slow, it works fine. But if you go crazy, eight man on it, it likes to spin down, like slip. Slip's not a really the better word for it. This, how I showed you in the beginning, you pull the clutch in, you know, and this will just slip. What it's doing on the Trailmaster is different. It's not actually slipping like that. It's kind of like just dropping. So if anybody watches this and you've got an issue and it's doing just that, well, it's inside the case, and I don't know what it could be inside the case. There are parts diagrams. Show only a few pieces in there, but I'm sure something is whack. And you know, that engine on that bike, it is the correct engine for that year, but it was not the engine that was on the bike, because the shifter boss, which I still got, and if I ever get a MIG welder, yeah, get MIG, and I can do aluminum, learn how to weld on aluminum, then I should be able to fix that shifting boss. It's where this rod right here, the shift lever on the other side, it goes into a little hole. Half of it's missing. But I have watched videos on building back up. It's just aluminum. It's just this cast aluminum is really hard to kind of work with. And trust me, I am no welder. Okay, so these I'm just snugging up. I think it maybe is like 10 pounds on these. So, okay. So see, we're turning over the engine. That is what you want. Okay. If this thing was just slipping and dropping down, you know you still got a problem somewhere. All right. So this is back together for the moment. So we'll go ahead and the gasket is still in place. Just kind of line things back up. And there's that. Now what we can do, kind of a little test, just to make sure that the shifting mechanism is still working right. Yeah, no, just wrapping these paper towels, and the hands are super slippery. Just put a couple screws in the case, because when you go to pull this clutch lever, it's going to push this case out. These, put one over here. Okay. All right, so we can kick it over like so, pull the clutch in, and see how it just slips. And that's exactly what you want. All right, so let's go take this. I need that. I need a 10 mil. I don't know what else I need over there. We'll find out. Okay, there is part 2 of this. That side cover right there, it's got to come off. Alright, so let's see here. What is the best way to do this? Whoa, that's nice. Kind of missing the 10 mil bolt through there. Interesting. Oh, these are shot. I actually need to get online and order some different screws. Some replacement screws. Because if people would just use a JIS Phillips, then these would not strip out. So now I gotta look at my parts bin. Sorry if my big old head's in the way. I do have my impact driver over there. Guess I'm gonna need that. Oh, and I'll zoom in for you guys. Don't you worry. You'll get to see. This thing is kind of, it's definitely different. When I first took that bike apart, it's like, what the hell? Of course, I'm never in the right position. I like to keep my screws in order. That way I know what goes back where. And I have one more long one. Oh man, these are so stripped out. Yeah, I'll do that tonight. Give me a beer, lots of beer, and order me some replacement screws. I hate working on stuff when they strip out like that. I think I got them all. Don't see anything else. And it ain't wanting to. Oh, there we go. Ah, I hate when it does that. This is the biggest pain in the butt. That goes in there like that, and that goes in that hole. Okay. This, you just seen, that's the shift mechanism that just came out with this cover. So I will have to make sure that I've got it in the right position. I tell you what, I'm gonna pause you guys so I can kind of show you. Yeah, let me just take you off the tripod. So we're gonna go for a little ride here. So sorry if I'm jiggling you around. All right. Let me zoom you out. Make sure you're zoomed all the way out. Okay, this right here is your shift lever. Okay, and you can see there are there's this like little, if you look up in there, it's like a fork. Okay, and it sits over this thing where my finger is, which is ribbed. Okay, so I know you can't see it, but because of the grease. All right, but that position right there, where this right here, that first position is neutral, and then when you kick it down, because this is 4 down, it'll go to the next slot, which is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Okay, and then back up. Now, this little thing here rides in those little grooves. So if you're looking here, let me find my finger right there. Let me get another light, because hopefully this will help somebody down the road. Oh, this was all trial and error to me. Okay, so you can see those teeth, kind of like a cog, you know. All right, that's your neutral. your neutral switch right there. And it talks about where that light is shining. Okay, you see that screw with the nut? That, I think, might be some sort of, they talk about it in that diagram, and that looks to be maybe 1/4 of an inch out, turned out. This thing right here is just a conglomeration of washers, springs. You know, there is another spring back there in the very back. See that kind of a goldish one? And then there is one in between that little fork looking thing. And then there is a washer and what is that a cotter? Yeah, some sort of keeper. There's a keeper right there. And then that goes in that slot in that washer, and that keeps this whole thing together. And if you're looking down where my flashlight is, you can see where that kind of, I don't know, you might be able to, I can't tell. You might be able to see down there where that kind of grabs onto the sprocket kind of thing, and is what kicks it up. So we've got 2 nuts down here, and I am recording this for myself too, because I will have to play this back when I tear that other one back apart and see what is the difference between this one and that one. I mean, these are just your mounting screws right here, 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 and I think that is it. There is no there. You know what? There is another screw. Okay, I'm trying to make sure you. Okay, if you look in the very back there, you see kind of like another screw head. I know my flashlight's in the way, but you can kind of see it right straight ahead there. Not the one with all the grease on it, but the one to the right. I think that is the thing that they were talking about, where you have to loosen that assembly and turn that thing. And yeah, that might be the ticket as to why that thing was not shifting into gears right. I don't think this one here, let me get the light back on there. That one there, straight ahead, at the light, yeah, you can see it now. It's got that grease on the half bottom of it. I don't think that's the one I was dorking with adjusting, you know, kinda. And maybe maybe that one in combination with the one off to the right there, back there, maybe those two play into this. Honestly, guys, I really don't know. But I know this one shifts great, so we know this one's working fine. And I do believe I have the 2 springs, the washer and the keeper on the other one, but time will tell. And that mechanism right there is, like I said, you're in neutral right now, so that pin is going to push on that wire, that connector, to have your neutral light come on, which does work. Alright, so very interesting. Yeah, and then there is that screw right there, straight ahead. That doesn't appear to do any, it's just a rod, you know, so you can't really tighten it. It doesn't have any adjustment on it, because I looked at that when I had the other bike apart. But, and then this nut right here that I'm tapping on top of is actually turned all the way down. So that is good to know. And there's really nothing else in here, guys. So, all right. It all looks good. Thanks for going on the field trip with that with me. All right, so I think we're making hopefully some headway here. Put you back on the tripod. I'm trying not to touch you that much because my hands are filthy. we'll go back over here. And we will commence to putting this thing back together after I kick you all over the place. Alright, so a little bit later I will go back over there and put that all back together. I do have to find the 10mm screw for the shift lever and figure out where the hell that went. Alright, so let's go around and put our screws back in place here. Oh, did I? I did. Thanks for telling me I just left all my tools right over there. That's okay. I'm used to getting up and down a million times. Thought that would seem a little bit long. Actually, I think it's the same size. I don't think it matters. Yeah, these don't matter. I've still been looking around, see if I can find another one. I haven't found any lately. They're just pretty cool looking bikes. You know, and if you found one and it was missing the engine and, you know, stuff like that, you know, you can get those Chinese 125 engines, 150, 140 Lifen engines, or 150 cc engines. And, well, you know, I'd be kind of curious to put one of those in here. Definitely give it some balls. You know, I don't want to do that to this one. This one's original, and it's going to stay that way. Okay, so let me just double check all of our bolts here. Make sure I got them all good and tight. Alright, so we go ahead and drop our air cleaner down back into place. Okay, we got that. Okay, so we've got our oil screw. Well, Miss Daisy, cat dog. She's telling me it's getting close to dinner time. And what was I gonna say? I don't know. I enjoy working on this stuff. Sometimes it can be extremely frustrating, but it's also when you make progress and get it running, it's very gratifying. So I guess therapeutic, maybe. Takes your mind off a lot of other things, that's for sure, because you're focused on this and not everything else in our crazy busy lives. There's a screw in there. Stupid gloves. Probably still pull that out just a tad more. And not pull my G off there. Not that I think that's really doing anything. Hose clamp. I'm trying to squeeze it back into place there. There we go. But noticed a little oil in there from that washer. Yeah, if it keeps leaking, this is easy enough to, that could be that washer back there has seen better days. Look at that tiny car, man. I think it's a 22 millimeter. Runs good though. I need to get that Trailmaster running as good as this one. Okay, we'll tighten this down once we get the carb on. See, you guys didn't warn me. Of course, mine is not. It's a little hard, but I guess if a new one, if you can even get a new one, that'd probably be pretty pliable. So not an issue. Not that this one's an issue. And you can just kind of make sure your carb is straight up. And then take your 12 mil and tighten your fuel line back down. Do that good snug. And then, I mean, at this point, you know, I can put the side cover back on, but I think I'm going to hold off. Pause you guys for a little bit. I still got to put, what else do I got to put on? That stupid spring came off. That spring comes off all the time. Let's go ahead and put the Kickstarter back on. So then we'll put the air filter cover back on. And when I'm ready, we will fire this thing up together and put that at least here in the garage and see you know, how well it's going to work. We'll know right. We'll know right from the get-go as soon as we put it in first gear, you know, if it's going to work or not. Okay, so we got all that. We got that. Let's go ahead and put our cover back on. This is not the right size nut. I just never bothered to replace it. Supposedly the guy we bought this from, can't remember his name now, but he seemed like a nice enough guy. Said he worked on these, worked as a mechanic at a motorcycle dealership on Yamahas. So when we got it back, and you know, I was like, well, damn, you know, I didn't notice the clutch slipping when we test drove it, and I mean, we were kind of excited, and old Howdy Mama, she was excited. So I messaged him, you know, when we got back and asked him, you know, hey man, this clutch slipped. Did you ever replace the clutch? Oh no, he did everything else. He painted the case, cleaned it up, and cleaned the car, did all this stuff, and never bothered to work with the clutch. And now I know exactly why. So anyway, we're gonna take a quickie break. Then I still got to put the other side back on, and hopefully I got that piece, which I'll know once I get the cover back on if it's shifting. I need to look in my nut buckets and see if I can find a 10 mil for that, or look in my parts bin for this thing and see if I got another nut that'll go in there. So we'll be back in a minute, guys. This is exciting stuff. Alright folks, we're gonna see if this clutch works. And we have our special guest today, Mackie Doodle. So, alright, let's see if it starts. second, and then come back and get out the hat cam, take it down the road. Shifted through all the gears fine. Still got a bit of a whine, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Doesn't seem to be slipping. Seems to be running really good. Had to take my side cover back off because I forgot to tighten the fuel line back up, so I was dripping a little bit of fuel. But I've got the GoPro on. Hopefully the GPS is working. I'll put the little speedometer on here. I think I topped out maybe 35. But I tell you what, man, it seems like you're going a lot faster than 35. I don't know, maybe it's just the size of the bike, you know. But definitely want to check these front forks and see where we put fluid in them at, and make sure it's got fluid in it, because if you see how that's pretty bouncy. I need to stiffen that up a bit. So. Gotta love it, guys. Gotta love it. It's pretty sweet. Thanks for going along with the ride. Hey guys, I just wanted to throw this at the end of the Campus 60 clutch. That thing was a total bear, or lack of better words, but it, since I don't have any documentation, technical documentation, I got documentation on the bike, but I don't have any technical documentation regarding the clutch. So, like I said in that video, I had recorded taking that thing off and on, I don't know how many times, 20, and trying different combinations of whatever, clutch discs, torque specs. The only thing that I ended up doing is not tightening down that the main nut for the clutch basket that tight. I ended up putting Loctite on it, and as you heard in the video, I'm still getting a little bit of clutch whine. I don't know why, but like I said, when we got the bike, it had 3 clutch discs in it, which I don't think was right because the Trailmaster had 4 to begin with, and it's basically the same engine. But it slipped so bad that couldn't have been right. But there again, when you look at the parts diagrams, you know, on Revzilla or Partzilla or Babbitt's, they show for each engine the same amount of clutch discs. However, the manual that I do have, and it doesn't have the torque specs on it, it shows another plate at the end, at the very top of the stack, that I don't have, and I can't find a part number for because it's not listed on the parts diagrams. So anyway, you know, to sum this up, yes, it runs fine, it shifts fine. I got no complaints there, you know, and if you just overlook the clutch whine, it's really not that bad. It works. So if anybody out there sees this video, you know, who is familiar with these older bikes and can clue me in as to, you know, the proper amount of clutch disc, you know, friction discs, clutch plates, torque specs for the basket, that would be tremendously helpful. I'm not opposed to taking this thing apart again. I would like to make it as perfect as I can be, considering this thing is a 1965, 64, 65, one of those. I think the Trailmaster's a 64. And that's got its own separate issues. I'm still, I don't know, I gotta take that thing apart again too because it's leaking where the oil injection goes into the block, the side of the housing of the block. And there is washers there, and I did get replacement washers, but it's still, no matter what I try, it's leaking some oil. So I don't know, and I did replace the line itself because you can still get some of these parts. But it's still, every time you run it, you can just see it dripping down the back side of the housing. So, I don't know, maybe in the dead of winter when it's cold and I'm not working on other projects, I'll bring that thing back in. But I just wanted to wrap this up with the Campus 60. Like I said, it does run. I hope some people get some things out of this. And my trials and tribulations and everything I did working on this thing. So anyway, have a good one. And yeah, I know I've been putting out a bunch of RC stuff lately. I've been playing with my cars, trying to get a lot of stuff in before it gets too cold up here in Indiana. And they're fun too, so I'm just trying to kind of spread some things around, do a little of this, do a little of that. So stay tuned for more stuff. I still, behind me, or behind you actually, is the TC125. I've got a ton of footage on that I need to get together, and I'll kind of explain why the big lack of kind of motorcycle stuff lately, and it's all my doing. So stay tuned and see you guys here soon. Whoa, sorry about that.